I'm Brett.
And I'm Alice.
And we are the prosecutors. Today on the prosecutors. I hope you're ready. It's what you've asked for more than anything else. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of The Prosecutors. I'm Brett, and I'm joined as... Hey, that's... You're already messing up. That's, we gotta do
Why
this
did
right.
I just
this
do
is
that?
so
It's
important.
not like we
I don't know why you did it.
It's not like we haven't done... How many episodes do we have? Hundreds of times to sign in?
So many.
I'm sorry. This is not bode well. Do you see how nervous I am? I'm so sorry. Okay, let's start it. We can't. This cannot be the way we start it. Sorry.
But just go ahead and leave that in, Jason. People enjoy that.
I'm sorry. You can laugh about how terrible I am. We'll save you a blooper.
Here we go.
Okay, sorry. Whew, I'm ready. I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, I'm ready. Whew.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of The Prosecutors. I'm Brett. And I'm joined, as always, by my easily distracted co-host, Alice. Hello, Alice.
Hey, Brett. I am easily distracted. You know what? You know how people are like, you do something so many times in your life, everything becomes rote and it's just boring. That's not my life, because apparently I have the memory of like a bunny rabbit. I don't know how we sign in.
Yeah. Or sign off half the time, but it's okay. That's what makes the show fun. When we do these big cases that everybody's been wanting to hear, I feel like, we got to just get right into it, because chit chat. How people are about chit chat.
They hate the chit chat. The one stars, they hate the chit chat. But you know what? I think we should dive in. I think we should dive in right away, because we're probably going to be doing this case for way too long. For a long time. For like forever.
Forever.
But the thing is, can I just say for a second though?
Yes, you can.
This case has just been like on my mind, on my heart, in my dreams. Literally, I texted you, right? I was like, I just dreamt about this case, because we've been researching it so long.
I dream about you too, Alice.
Yes.
Is that what you meant?
You're feeding all those rumors. You're feeding all those rumors.
Yeah,
no, that's not what I meant whatsoever. But because I want to get to the case, we have to do justice to this case. We can't go too fast, but at the same time, we kind of have to be fast, because we don't have forever to do this case.
We got all these. Yeah, it's true. We don't have forever. If you're just joining us for this case, then kind of late to the game. I'm just saying.
We have a great back catalog, though.
We do. So many good episodes. I want to, before we get started, here's the thing. If you're just joining us, one of the things that sort of defines Alice and I and how we do these cases, we tend to maybe occasionally, sometimes go down, I don't know, what would you call it?
I would call it rabbit trails.
What would you call it? I would call it rabbit trails as well. Who calls it rabbit holes? I don't know. Do rabbits even live in holes?
I don't know if they live in holes, because you guys
they
all
definitely
know
make trails.
I used to live in Georgia, and when I grew up, I lived in Georgia. This actually goes very well into this case, and played outside all the time. And there were rabbits and bunnies that lived in my backyard, like plentiful, because if you know about the bunnies, they really know how to procreate.
True. If you don't start out with a lot of bunnies, you end up with a lot of bunnies.
You end up with a lot of bunnies. And you knew we had bunnies.
If you ever plant mint, it just takes over the whole yard.
Takes over the whole yard. Bunnies take over the whole yard. But you look out back in my backyard, and it was like this flat, greenery. But there were rabbit trails going every which way, because rabbits make trails, because they are creatures of habit. That's how they stay safe. Because have you ever seen a rabbit? They got no defense mechanism, right? They can't play dead like an armadillo. They don't have venom like a snake. Yeah. They're pretty awesome. So they make rabbit trails. So I've seen rabbit trails. Never seen a rabbit hole.
Never seen a rabbit hole. Gophers live in holes.
What's the difference between a gopher and a groundhog?
Groundhog? I was just about to talk about the groundhog.
Oh, you
we
were.
We are so
look at
on
that.
the same page. Because, so every year, I watch Groundhog Day. It's like a thing I do. Every February 2nd. Great movie you haven't seen. Have you seen it with Bill Murray?
Oh, absolutely.
Of
I've
course you
watched it
have.
many times. Have you
As
seen
all
it?
good people
I
have.
feel like we've had this conversation before.
Have we? It's a great movie. The same thing happens over and over and over again.
That was a joke.
That was the joke. And
That
you know
was
what I
the
always
joke.
wondered, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this. Maybe we discuss this. I don't know. It's like Groundhog Day. So Groundhog Day now, if you say it's like Groundhog Day, people know that means it's like the same day is happening over again. I assume that comes from the movie, right?
I assume so because I'm pretty sure it didn't all of a sudden change sometime in like the 80s or 90s where we said, oh, it's like Groundhog Day. We're like, yeah, like when the gopher comes out and it's almost spring.
Yeah, but I just want to make sure, because it's possible that people always use that idiom. It's like Groundhog Day to mean a day that happens every year, right? And that the movie maker was like, what if it really was like Groundhog Day and every day was the same day? And I just don't know if it started that way with the idiom or if the idiom comes from the movie.
Now you're blowing my mind. But what about, why would that be an idiom in and of itself, right?
I don't know. But
I
idioms
guess
are
Groundhog is
weird,
something-
right?
Idioms are
Like-
weird.
In Alabama, I don't know what it's like where you guys are from. And I'm sorry if this offends some of you. But I'll ask Alice. Alice, when the sun is shining and it's raining, what do you say? Do you have a phrase for that in your culture?
I don't think so.
When the sun is out,
Okay.
so it's not totally
No,
cloudy.
I understand the
And it's raining.
situation. Let me think.
Like in some
I know
places, they
there's-
call that sun showers or something like that. In the South, we say the devil is beating his wife.
I do know this only
Yeah.
because I now live in the South.
Yeah.
Like-
So the devil is beating his wife, which I said, don't be offended. That's just what people say, right? So where did that come from? I have no idea. I don't know who came up with that the first time, right? But that's what people say. And so maybe Groundhog Day was the same way. People just said, man, today was just like yesterday. It's like Groundhog Day. And people are like, yeah, I know what you mean.
I think you're giving someone a movie idea right now. Someone should make a movie called The Devil Beating His Wife.
There you go. It probably would not be as fun as Groundhog Day. How did I get started on Groundhog Day?
Rabbit trails. Rabbit trail. Go
Oh,
first.
rabbit trails and holes. Yeah, so
Was that a rabbit trail
obviously-
that we just went down? So
It was.
I actually think I understand that people say rabbit holes, but I literally remember seeing these indentations into the grass. Like you could look out the backyard because when it came springtime, new rabbit trails would be formed because they went away and hibernated or whatever during the winter, and the grass dies away. So the rabbit trails.
we're going
grown
to talk
over.
about trails through the forest in this case.
That's right.
which might have
And
been made by
being
rabbits.
outside.
Yeah.
Well, definitely by rabbits, I think. I mean, that's
I don't know.
kind of obvious.
Or turtles.
I don't know that.
Who knows? Do turtles make trails? Because turtles and
Turtles-
rabbits often go together. I don't know why.
Turtles
Maybe it just
don't
goes all the way
make
back to
trails because
Aesop.
a lot of them swim. Turtles have always really baffled me because, they're amphibious, so they're
It's-
on the
I know
land.
exactly where you're going with this.
And they're also in the water.
In the
I
water.
don't know if you know where I'm going with this because I'm not sure I know where I'm going with this.
But I see what you're saying. But it's weird that turtles
But-
live
but-
on the land and in the water at the same time.
At the same time, but they're not very fast on land. But
they
they
beat the
can't live
rabbit.
in the water all the time. Like they die if they need air. And so it just seems so weird that
So
they are
turtles
not.
can drown?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely,
I
they
don't know
can
that I
drown.
knew that. I mean, I guess I did know that, but I
I
didn't
don't
really
know
think
if
about it.
every type of turtle can drown, but I unfortunately am going to definitely get a PETA letter. I know this because I have drowned
here we
turtles
go.
by accident.
Here we go. Here we go. Another story. I'm sorry,
Okay,
guys.
so-
Here we go. Go
so-
ahead. Tell the story.
No,
Before we
I
get
think
started,
this was
go ahead and tell the
not
story. After this
intentional.
story, we're getting started, though. So go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, should
We're
we
gonna dive
just
in
get
after this
started?
story, just like a
Nobody
turtle.
cares about my story. Should we just get started?
No, I want to hear your
Okay,
story.
let me.
I want to hear your story.
We can always cut it out. We can always cut it out.
can always cut it out.
So you guys, maybe this will save future turtles' lives. I don't know if every turtle. I'm pretty sure because they're amphibious, they have to come up for air, so that's why
Can I
they're
ask
not
one
fish.
question before you get
Yeah.
into this story?
How have I killed so
What
many
is-
animals?
Well, that's a good question. What is the difference between a turtle and a tortoise? Can one of them live underwater, or do
That's-
they
that's
both
a-
have to breathe air?
That's
And maybe
a
you
good
don't
question.
know the answer.
I don't
but-
know if it's a tortoise, but a sea turtle I think.
Exactly,
can
like a
leave.
sea turtle. I've seen Finding Nemo.
I
you
think
know.
those
I know
are
they
different.
exist.
Even though they look a lot the same, they're probably even in the same family. I think they're very different. But I actually have no idea. But you're
So you don't
right.
think they're related? They're just like
No, they are related, but I think that those have gills, like on
do
their
they have
necks.
gills?
I think they have gills.
You think they
Whereas
have
the
gills?
turtles, I'm thinking of, it's like they have
They
a
always
little
stick
neck.
their
They're
nose
like,
out, you know?
they stick their
Like,
nose
if
out, but they're like this
you've
big.
been to the park. There are turtles in that pond in the park.
Oh, for
and you
sure.
always see their little noses sticking out of the water. I assume that's so they can breathe.
Exactly. Exactly. But they don't have gills, right? And
Right.
they have to have their mouths up there. And typically you see them sunbathing on rocks because they can swim to the top. But just like you and I, if you paddle forever, you get tired and you sink to the bottom. And then if you sink to the bottom, don't have air, you die. So that may have been what happened to one of my turtles that I caught from the creek. The same creek where I found the salamanders and lizards that I played
The
with
ones
as a
you'd use
child.
as earrings?
Yes, exactly. We don't have to revisit that. Yes, I played with all these adorable reptiles and amphibians. So, anyways, the turtles, because I didn't put rocks in the water where I was keeping it, they did not make it. All I'm saying
What
is
would the rocks? What would the rocks have to do with anything?
rest.
Because they
They
can
rest on
stand
the
on the
rocks.
rocks.
Correct.
I see.
Correct. It was a place to
That
rest so that
makes
they could
sense.
breathe, because they would otherwise paddle until they could no longer paddle.
Have you ever had turtle soup?
Yeah, of course. It's a very New Orleans thing.
That's
Turtle
what I was
soup-
about to say.
Yeah.
I went to
Okay.
Commander's Palace for the first time last year.
That's what they're famous for.
Oh man, it's so good.
That and Bananas Foster's and
Oh, yeah.
lots of other things. Isn't it good?
So good.
But I've never had turtle soup. I've only had turtle soup in the New Orleans fashion, meaning with a lot of sherry.
The first time I ever saw turtle soup was the first time I ever went to a Vietnamese restaurant. It was a nice Vietnamese restaurant in Georgetown, and the person sitting across from me was having turtle soup. And at that restaurant, which, like I said, was very nice, it was served in the shell.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. So the turtle soup you had, I assume I went to
Lots of
Commander
sherry.
Palace's sibling, like they've sued each other all over in the Fifth Circuit, that family. But that family, they opened.
That's how you know it's good.
Yeah, exactly. It's not called Commander's Palace, but it's the same family that opened it in Houston when I lived there. So I ate there all the time and had turtle soup. But the turtle soup I had there was like, it's like smooth, right? There's no chunks of turtle.
This was
What about
chunky. This was
I
like
was gonna
chunky
say-
turtle soup. Yeah.
I was going to say that's different, but there's a very distinct flavor.
See, that reminds me of like a she crab soup, what you're describing. Have you had she crab soup?
Oh, she crab soup is one of my favorites.
I love she crab soup. Oh, God. I'm making myself hungry.
Are there he
With a
crabs?
turtle. I always wondered the same thing. And if you make she crab soup, do you have to make sure it's like a female crab? Like, is that
Is it
particular?
really a she crab, or are they just she crabs?
It's kind of
know?
like how I think all chicken we eat is female chickens. Am I wrong about that?
Okay, so they're supposed to all be females.
Because they
but
pick them
I
out, right?
I think because roosters they either taste different or they're whatever. But I think because chickens there's all this like humaneness of how we raise them and we overfeed them, and then because we eat a lot of chickens in this country, I think some farms sell young roosters whose testicles have not descended, and people find their testicles when they eat the chicken.
Wait. Okay, I know we need to get started, but hold on a second. I don't think I. Hold on now. Hold on. I don't even know if I knew that roosters had testicles. I mean, I guess I had to know that. Is that a real thing? Are you making that up? You're making that up.
I might be making it up, but I'm not trying to fool you.
If you're listening, I want you to tell us whether or not
But
roosters
here's the thing.
have testicles.
Let me tell you about roosters.
I
Have you
can't
seen
wait
how
to hear
furry they
this.
are with the feathers?
There's no telling where you're going with this. Have you killed a rooster too?
I'm
No?
not. No, I've not personally been the actor who effectuated it, but the thing with roosters, when you want hens laying and you have too many roosters, you don't need that many roosters, so you have to chick sex. Is that a term that you used in your law class? Because I did that.
In law class, not so much.
Yeah.
So here's a question about that, and I'm sorry to keep going down rabbit trails on this, but you just keep raising questions that I have to ask about.
I'm sorry.
So if you have a hen, I don't know anything about this, and I know this is really popular amongst sort of the hipster set these days? Do we still have
The
hipsters? Is that
homesteaders
still a thing?
as well. Hipsters or homesteaders. It's a very
To have your own
wide range.
chickens.
Yes.
People
I
have
want
their own
chickens.
chickens.
My HOA won't
Do
let
you
me.
need a rooster to cause the chicken to lay eggs? Or do you not
No.
want a rooster because you want eggs that are not fertilized?
You don't want a rooster. So
At all.
Correct. Well, I mean, you actually want a rooster so that you can keep having hens because hens get eaten a lot by wildlife.
Does the rooster
But-
protect the hens? Because it's got those spurs.
No.
Spurs.
No. You want the
What?
rooster so that you can have some fertilized eggs so that you can then hatch some little chicks
Oh,
who then grow up.
replacement hens. Is that what you're
Replacement
saying?
hens. But no, the
Hey,
eggs
roosters
you and
are
I
vicious,
eat,
man.
They
There's
are
a
vicious.
reason they fight
Cockfight.
those things.
We
Cockfights.
prosecuted some of those cases. We should do a case about
we
that,
sure
actually.
have.
It's really interesting.
And I like
They
South
are
Carolina.
intense.
Cock Commander, or whatever his name is. Sir Coxalot. I forget what his name is. What is?
All of those are great options.
Yeah.
Wait,
Cocky?
real quick.
Maybe it's just cocky. But Coxalot and Cock Commander.
I like Sir
way better.
Coxalot very much.
Sir Coxalot.
That was one of the first cases I worked on when I became a prosecutor, actually. Cockfighting.
What do you think
anyways,
about that? You know, it used to be legal in Oklahoma, and then they made it illegal. I'll just tell you, I grew up in a place where you saw people raising roosters all the time, and it wasn't for fertilizing.
Wasn't for meat.
eggs.
Wasn't for me.
But I've never been to a cockfight.
I bet
And
you. I bet you there. You've never been to a cockfight?
I've never been to a cockfight, and
That's
to
surprising
risk.
to me.
I will say this: I don't want to alienate any listeners. I would not go to a dog fight. I find that personally offensive. I love dogs. I would totally go to a cockfight in the
Can I
right
just tell you, though?
circumstance. If it was legal, if I was in the Philippines, I would go.
If it was illegal. So when
I
we
only
were
do
doing
legal things. I
the
don't do illegal
undercover
things.
sting for the cockfighting,
Did you
all
volunteer?
these agents had to dress like they would be going to a cockfight because they were going to a cockfight, but they had to be undercover. And I've never laughed so hard at our colleagues before. I think one of them literally blacked out his tooth.
Have we started this yet, or are we still talking? So,
Oh God, sorry.
we're
Okay,
gonna
we
get
should
so
really
many
start.
one-star reviews about this. Okay, let's before we
Whatever.
get started though, because I mentioned Finding Nemo. You've seen Finding Nemo, right?
Oh, I love Finding Nemo.
Do you still not let your kids watch TV, or is that?
We don't watch TV.
Have you
We don't
kinda-
watch TV. Wait, can I tell you a really quick story about Nemo though?
Yes.
My kids
you can.
don't watch TV, but they read books, and obviously a lot of these, Disney movies and Pixar movies get turned into books. So we have the Finding Nemo book, and you know how Nemo's written, like it's all wavy, kind of like a
Yeah.
sea,
Like
whatever,
a wave. Yeah.
like a wave, because it's an oceanic themed movie. So
I went to the Finding Nemo ride when we were at Disney World.
Is there a ride?
There's a ride, and
You
they
know-
also the ride kind of sucks, but it ends in an aquarium, and the aquarium's awesome.
Hey, that's awesome. Do you know what character is in Finding Nemo that I find very interesting? The whale.
The whale. I've eaten
The
whale.
whale.
The whale that swallows them and then takes them
Gross.
to Sydney. Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
I
so
like the
cute.
sharks, but-
Did you see that viral clip that just went by? The whale that actually did swallow
That
the
ate the
kayaker.
guy?
Oh,
Yeah.
and then he spit him back out.
Yeah. Can you
That
imagine?
was crazy. Wait, I'm curious. Why did he spit him back out?
Because
he. I know
well-
that we don't taste good, but he didn't have time to taste him. Like he
I don't
went.
think the
he,
whale can actually eat something that big.
Oh, so he was just lucky.
I think, yeah.
I don't know. I believe in my Bible stories. Jonah and the whale.
Most people think it was a giant fish. not
Can
a
fish
whale.
eat people that big?
Depends on how big the fish was.
That's fair. That is
And also,
fair.
you had God intervening. So even if it was, well, I mean, a killer whale can eat people, and they're big.
but they eat people. They don't swallow you
people.
whole.
But if we have divine intervention here. So if swallow you, whatever. Blue whales are crazy. I mean, do you realize blue whales, the largest? You think about dinosaurs. You think about how huge dinosaurs are, and in your mind, the big animals all lived way back in the day, right? The blue whale, which lives on the earth right now, is the largest animal to ever exist on the face of the earth. You could
is really
stand
awesome.
in its heart.
That is insane. And my oldest son told me that the other day because I did not know that fact.
It's wild.
And somehow you and him should hang out because he was
should
like,
hang out.
"What's the largest animal that's ever lived in the world?" And I said, like, the Diplodocus.
You'd be like,
dinosaur.
yeah, Brachiosaurus or something, right?
Anything. Yeah. One of the dinosaurs with the long
Mosasaurus.
tails.
Yeah.
And the long necks. Surely, if you stretch them out, they're longer than a. Nope. not as big as a blue whale, which is amazing.
I'd love to see a blue whale.
Like tiny plankton. That's
and
amazing.
Massive amounts of it. And that's how the guy got eaten. Because, they go to the bottom and they go up. They open their mouth and they go all the way up and they're eating on it and they breach. And that dude just happened to be where the whale was breaching. And so the whale ate him. But then spit him out.
That's pretty crazy.
Never been eaten by an animal before. I've been bitten by a dog.
Like multiple dogs. Have you been bitten by your dog? Because I know. Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. We'll get to this real quick. But speaking of animals, I know that your dog is just very protective. Is all.
Very
I
protective.
really barely ever see your dog because you're nice enough to remove him when I come over. Has he bit you before?
No.
Really?
He would not bite me. No way.
I actually find that real because I've had dogs that are very bite friendly. Like not.
He bit
like
my mother-in-law and felt bad about it because he didn't know it was her when he did it because he knows her and likes her. But it was our fault. It was our fault. But he did bite her and felt bad about it. Yeah. But he would never bite me. He would never bite my wife. He'd never bite my kids. He would never do that.
But sometimes the dogs
bite
I've
you.
had. Oh, first 100% he would bite me. Yeah. No, I'm nobody to him. It's
And there would be bite marks on both sides, unlike in the Karen Reed case, where there were only bite marks on one
We should
side.
really cover.
And barely bite marks at all, more like scratches. Kind of
should
the
cover the
scratches you
retract.
might have, for instance, if your arm hit the rear of a vehicle and then smashed out the taillight. Not to get onto another controversial case while we're talking about this case, but nevertheless.
Well, the case we're going to cover is not controversial.
Not at all.
She said hopefully. She said hopefully.
So you interrupted me earlier. I was trying to tell a story. Okay.
Neither
look,
of us have interrupted the other.
I know we need to get started. I get it. Give us some grace, guys. We're going to be talking about this case for 25 episodes.
We
okay?
always talk. We
have
always
some
talk when we're
run-up.
nervous.
In these big cases. I wish I hadn't already told my psychopath story. Because, by the way,
Yeah.
I got to tell you this at some point. One of the people at work failed or didn't fail the psychopath story. And you'll not be surprised to learn who it is. So I'll do that with you later. So what was I talking about? Oh, television.
Psychopaths. Television.
So you're just like a tiger mom.
Oh.
I can't imagine my kids not watching
No.
TV.
Okay, so
My kids
that's
watch
not
so much
totally
TV.
fair. That's not totally fair because my kids know what a TV is. We never turn it on. They have watched things
They watch
before
sports.
no.
They
Because
watch all
here's the
those-
thing.
They watch Auburn lose in basketball, right? Surely.
I mean, TV's on everywhere. This is why it's really hard to stay away. So, like when we go to our favorite bar, because we take
And
our kids to a
football.
bar, there's always football or basketball on. So, it's there.
Yes, that's right. She takes her kids to the bar.
I do.
I was at the bar
I do take
last
my-
weekend. The kids were there. They were all drinking.
It was Brittany's birthday party at the bar. Let's be honest.
It's a good point. Just to
It wasn't
reiterate,
just- it was-
the baby's 2-year birthday party and 1-year birthday party last year was at the bar. It's a great bar.
This is true. It's a great bar. It's like a second home to her.
She loved it. Yeah.
And I have plenty of pictures of my second son sitting at the bar. I couldn't find him. And I
Smoking
was
a
like, where
cigarette.
is he? He was sitting at the bar, chatting it up with the bartender, by the way. And I was like, you
yeah.
get better service than I do.
My daughter did the same thing. My wife gave her the credit card, and she just like bellied up to the bar with the credit card and ordered all the drinks.
I mean,
She's like,
wouldn't
Daddy
you?
would like an IPA. She didn't
I'm
actually
impressed
say
that she remembers what to
didn't
get.
say
She
She could have though. She could have.
she absolutely could. So no, it's not that. So they've definitely seen things before. We have pulled the like fail safe. We're like, okay, we got to put on a Daniel Tiger because everyone's losing. And here's the other thing:
Tiger.
when we travel, they can watch all the.
As
TV
long as
they
you don't
want.
do Kalu. You know Kalu?
I don't know what that is.
It's awful. I think
We
that's his name,
try-
Kalu.
We really
he's
do try to
bald.
stick with
My
like the
wife's
Mr.
bald.
Rogers types and whatnot. And so no, I would say like
Kalu.
in a regular week, 7 days a week.
Kalu?
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm looking it up. Kalu.
Okay, let's get started now. Let's get started because I really
Now,
want to talk about when
Kalu
they start
is
doing the
Canadian,
investigation.
by the way.
I still don't know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. Not even. a
Okay,
little bit.
okay, yes, let's get
Let's get
started. But
started.
before we do, I've been trying to tell this story for like 30 minutes.
Oh
and
my
you keep
gosh.
interrupting me.
Okay. Please tell it.
So, Bluey.
Oh yes, please tell the Bluey story.
Do you not watch Bluey with your kids?
I don't.
Well,
I think they have seen an episode before. I think they have seen episodes before, so they know what Bluey is. And I've seen a couple episodes, but we do not. It is not something we watch.
so I don't know what it is about Bluey. Bluey is a masterpiece, okay? So we're watching Bluey. My daughter, you know how I feel. I mean, I am barely capable of surviving as an adult. I tell my wife, I'm just not cut out for life. I need to be hit by a bus or something. I cannot live. I cannot experience life as an adult because I just take everything. It's just too hard for me. I'm very emotional. I'm an emotional person. Have I ever told you about the time? I'll talk about Blue in a second. Have I ever told you about the time that I took the malaria medication?
Yes.
Have I told the story?
No,
Have I told the story on the podcast?
I don't think you told it on the podcast. I'll tell you my malaria story after that.
So, my wife and I, it's been 12 years now. So when we went to Chernobyl. So we just worked on a presidential campaign. I won't say which one, though you can probably figure it out based on various reporting. So back in 2012, and after that was over, we decided we're going to take an around the world trip. So we bought a one-way ticket. I mean, if you have an opportunity to do this, you should totally do it. We bought a one-way ticket to Hong Kong. Longest flight in the world. I mean, we flew, it's actually not. The flight to Sydney's further, but nevertheless, it was like 18 hours. 18-hour flight to Hong Kong. Have you ever, you've been to Taiwan.
We used to do this every summer. I don't know how my parents got me to sit on an 18-hour flight.
If you have never flown on one of those flights, and it'll never be like it was, because at the time, there's no internet. I loved it. I loved trans-Pacific flights so much because once you got on that flight, no one could call you. No one could contact you. Just for 18 hours, you were free. It was just you and your book, whatever. You could relax. It was amazing. Anyways, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but anyways, we did this whole round.
And back in the day, those 18-hour flights, especially if you went on an Asian airline, the accoutrements that came with it, like
they were great.
Towels.
They treated
I remember
the
this
towels,
candy cart.
Yes,
there was a candy cart when I was a kid, and made those 18-hour Atlantic flights. They would push. I still remember. It was like the Bertie Bott's every flavor beans from Harry Potter when they would be on the Hogwarts train. I mean, any candy you wanted, any snack you wanted, and it was just so fun. And you became friends with people on the flight because you had no one else to talk to.
It's like life. You made
it was great.
It was amazing. And you're right. And if you're going to Asia, they give you that great Asian food, like whatever it is. It's basically a bento box. You know?
Probably some seaweed soup.
Seaweed soup. Why am I talking about this again? How did I lead into this? Remind me.
I have no idea. You were going on a one-way trip around the world.
Around the world. And I
literally have no idea where we went. What are we doing here?
How did I get into this? I will say this. We went to Singapore, and I went to Raffles, which is a hotel in Singapore, where they invented the Singapore sling. And it was $30 to get an original Singapore sling. And it's funny how much your life changes, because at the time, $30 for a drink was just absurd. It's still kind of absurd. But now, like, whatever, right? But at the time, it's like, I can get one of these and we're going to share it, right? And we had our Singapore sling and it was good. What was the point of the story? I can't remember. I seriously can't remember what the point of the story was.
What's the point of all of this?
Because I was talking about Bluey.
And then you said, I'll get to that.
Malaria.
Yes.
Okay. So, and I promise. Okay, we're going to get started on the case soon. I promise.
We will. This
kind of, mosquitoes play into the case, and this is about mosquitoes. So, there we go. That's true. It all ties in. Okay.
They're attracted to your breath.
That's right. Yes.
There you go.
So, I'm going to Asia it was January, so I don't know that it was actually... It's always hot in Asia.
Mosquitoes?
Like if you go to Singapore, you go to Hong Kong, you go to Vietnam, it's hot.
That is true. There is
Cambodia,
a lot of mosquitoes there.
It doesn't matter what time it is. So I had to get malaria medication. And so I had read about these dreams. At the time I was writing books and stuff, and I had read about these dreams that you have when you're taking malaria medication, quinine. And I wanted to have these dreams, right? Malaria dreams.
They're crazy.
Yeah, there you go. So I go to the doctor. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to Southeast Asia. Probably need some malaria drugs. And he's like, yeah, we got these new malaria drugs. They're great. And I was like, no. I don't want the new drugs. I want quinine. I want to go like, the British did in 1880. And they're like, you know, that has like really serious side effects, right? And I was like, that's fine. That's what I want. Quinine. And they're like, you know, those are more expensive than the new drugs we have that don't have the side effects and you don't have to take as much of. I don't care. I want the quinine. So the doctor's like, whatever, man. And he gives me the quinine. And so because it's a malaria drug, malaria is a parasite, you have to basically take it so that your body is filled with quinine. Exactly. So that when the parasite enters your body, it dies. You have to coat yourself with quinine. So you have to take it weeks before you start your trip. So I get my quinine, and I'm taking it weeks before. And, you know, right as we're getting ready to leave, I started noticing I was just so emotional all the time. Like I would watch commercials, and I would tear up. I'd be like, this is like making me sad, right? And there was this song. I can't remember who it's by, but it was called "Welcome to the Future," right? It's a country music song, and so it starts off with like the guy's talking about how his grandfather fought in World War II, and now he's on a video call with Tokyo. Welcome to the future, and it ends. It does this whole thing about how like, you know, his friend was the running back in the high school football team, and they burned a cross in his front yard because he dated the prom queen. And then, like, Martin Luther King had a dream, and I just start bawling. I hear the song, which I've heard 1,000 times.
Kitschy country club, you know.
And I just start bawling. I'm like, yes, he had a dream, right? I'm just bawling. And I'm like, why am I so emotional? And it turns out that one of the side effects of quinine is intense emotions. So I never got the dreams. I never had the malaria dreams.
You were only emotional?
The only thing I got was the emotion. I just cried at the drop of a hat.
I had the psychedelic dreams. They were wasted on me because you could have written about them. I don't know if you guys have. So I went to Honduras when I was right after high school. I spent some time there doing, you know, like good deeds, whatever you want to call them. Great way to really just fill your body with real parasites, and I came back with lice, parasites, worms. It was horrible physically.
All the best worms.
I didn't get malaria.
Yeah.
So let
me just say, on this trip, like mosquitoes, I was just covered up with mosquitoes, but I never got malaria.
There you go. So the emotions, you cried them away. They're like, this guy, way too emotional for us. It was your tears that killed him.
Tears killed him. Killed the mosquitoes.
So I'm really interested to hear your malaria dreams for anyone else who out there who had malaria dreams.
You're talking about those people.
They were like, yeah, not you. Sorry, you didn't get them, but maybe other people had the same thing. But I was taking them, and I went with like another girl, and we were roommates, and she had them too. We would share our malaria dreams because they were so psychedelic, and then our malaria dreams like merged because we spent so much time together.
Oh, wow.
I have no idea, like maybe she was just, you know, punking me and she just repeated whatever I said, but everything was quite literally in like Technicolor. It was like when the dream would start out with like Wizard of Oz when it was still black and white, and then sometime in the dream it just like became all of a sudden like Technicolor, but also warped. Like everything was weird and tall and wavy.
That is amazing.
And loud. It was a rave. It's like a dance rave.
I've never been to a rave or a foam party.
You haven't? You went to Alabama.
We didn't do raves so much. We just drank a lot.
I mean, it wasn't like I haven't been to like a real rave like at a club. I've been to.
I don't do drugs, unlike you.
No,
Throwing down
I've been
the
to like
ecstasy.
theme parties that are raves.
Okay, so anyways, I know we got to get started, but before we do that, I'm trying to tell my Bluey story.
Tell the Bluey story already. What is it?
I don't know how malaria came into this. Okay, before we get started, Bluey. Okay, do you know about Bluey? It's a dog.
I've seen Bluey. Yes, I know, and it's like it's a very good show.
It's so great. If you haven't watched Bluey, you should. It's Australian. It's our Australian.
And they're stopping it, right? Oh no, they're not stopping it. But the guy who created it is like leaving. No, they're still making it, but he's leaving.
Oh, it probably won't be as good. It's so good.
I know.
Anyway, so I'm watching my daughter. You know how I feel about my daughter. I'm talking about. I mean, she can make me cry no matter what.
She's great.
I love her so much. She's amazing. I mean, I love my son too. If you're listening in 20 years, son, I love you just as much as my daughter. I'm not saying I don't, but I was watching Bluey with your sister. And so Bluey, if you don't know, So there's this family of blue heelers. So I guess in Australia they have blue heelers. It's like an animal or dog they have. And so there's Mom, who is, I can't remember her name. Chili. Chili is her name. Dad is Bandit. And then there's Bluey. And then there's, what's the last dog's name? The little sister dog. I can't remember
Sister
either.
dog.
Let's see, let me get Dad. Mom. What is that dog's name?
Wow. That did not work. I was sure
I thought if I went, I'm seeing it in my head. Hold on, just hold on 1 second.
I'm totally gonna Google this to see if you get it.
Mom. Dad.
Is it Pom Pom?
It's not Pom Pom.
Is it Bobo? I don't know.
Bingo. It's bingo.
Even I knew that.
Bingo. Bluey. Okay, anyway, so Bluey is, the main dog. Anyways, so the episode was called Grandpa. Okay. So Bluey and Bingo and Chili, who's the mom, are going to see her dad. Now he's recovering from heartworms. So
That's very serious for a dog.
I know, exactly.
Very serious.
So, they stop there and the kids run out and she's like, "Be careful, kids. Grandpa's recovering from heartworms," or whatever. And so but then basically they're all playing and they're leaving Mom behind. And so Mom's trying to catch up, tell everybody don't
listen.
Dad doesn't need to be so active, right? So the whole episode, and the episodes are only like 8 minutes long, but the whole episode, she's trying to catch up with them. And so finally, she catches up with them. They're on this dock. Granddad, Grandpa is sitting at the edge of the dock, and the kids are swimming. And I'm having to hold on. I gotta hold things together.
Are you gonna be okay?
So I was telling my dad this story, by the way, and I could not get through it. I was like, "This is ridiculous."
You guys may not be able to see this, but Brett is literally tearing up right now.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
So Grandpa's sitting on the edge. He's sitting on the edge of the pier, and the kids are swimming. And Chili comes up, and she sits down next to her dad, Grandpa, and they're talking, about how when she was a little puppy and all this sort of stuff, and she says to him,
"Wow, you guys! Okay. Brett's literally crying right now. I don't know what this is
She says to him, "Do you remember when I used to swim?" And I'm watching this when my daughter's literally sitting on my lap watching this. "Do you remember when I used to swim here?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she goes, "It was so long ago." And he says, "Nah, it was only yesterday."
Oh.
He says, "No, it was only yesterday." And when he says that, for a split second, she's no longer an adult dog. She's a puppy sitting next to her dad. And when that happens, I am not kidding, I just burst into tears. I've never had this happen to me, actually, like such an emotional reaction.
Were you taking quinine?
I burst into tears and I'm just crying. But the fact that it's happening, that I'm like crying at this so suddenly, I'm also laughing. So I'm like laughing and crying. And my daughter, all 5 years, turns around and looks at me and goes, "Daddy, are you okay?" I was like, "Yes, baby, I'm okay." I mean, it was so like, just, I don't know. If you haven't seen that episode,
I'm definitely going to go watch this 8-minute clip now. Not clip. I'm going to watch it now.
Now, I have
You're making me cry.
So Grandpa will make you cry. I have seen The Sign. The Sign is like the definitive Bluey episode that will make you cry. But
I will watch that one too, I guess.
The Sign is like 28 minutes long, and it really builds up to it, whatever. But Grandpa, man, it just hit me. It was like a sledgehammer in my face, and it made me cry. So
okay, I mean, with that story, though, but this actually leads perfectly into what we're talking about today, because talking about the innocence, of childhood.
Exactly.
Innocence of childhood, and how, it seems like just yesterday your kids are in this carefree world.
Yeah, and I'm about to start into that because I'm about to have a baby.
I know, I can't believe
only
it.
10 days or so.
Okay, so I cried a little bit because, I'm passing on some of these baby things to y'all, which I'm very happy to do, but my baby has already outgrown them. Like, we're no longer in that
blows your
baby.
mind, right?
Right, because he was literally just born, and I'm talking to Mrs. Brett, and I'm like, do you need, like the baby swing, the boppy, baby holder? And I was like, we've outgrown it already. Like, he's never going to be that small again. And then I lost it, and
See, that's
crying.
the thing about being a parent, is because you're trying to hold on. I mean,
Okay.
your kids.
So
are
one of
just
my
like,
we'll get started, but one of my favorite scenes, and this is fed to me on social media all the time, is I didn't watch every episode, but I watched a good bit. Have you ever watched Modern Family?
yeah.
Okay, one of the greatest speeches, the grandpa. I honestly cannot remember any of their names, but
I know who you're talking about.
the patriarch, the grandpa, and he's like the gruff man, and he's like not touchy feely at all. But there's this amazing speech that he gives about what it's like to be a parent, and every time it comes up on my social media, I watch it in its entirety and I cry.
Yeah.
And the gist of it, I'm not gonna do it right, but he's always gruff. He's never hugs his kids, all those sorts of things, and he says, along the lines of your Bluey episode, he's like, when a kid grows up, you get to, you don't even have time because life is so fast. You get so excited, and the next phase, you don't even think about how they've just gotten bigger, and they keep getting bigger, and then they become a teenager, but then one day they wake up and they leave your house. But it's not just them leaving their house. They're leaving their house with every iteration of them before, like all the way down to like the little toddler sitting in your lap, down to the little baby who is on that little pillow. And he's like, and that's why it breaks you inside, because you're not just losing the one child, you're losing, all the versions of the child that you've grown and loved. And I'm like, oh my gosh, all these versions of my child.
I think everybody should be a parent. I know that's not the thing to say these days, but I think everybody should be a parent.
Well, I think that's
But it's terrible.
But you know why? But I think that's why it's wonderful. It is the most incredible thing you can do, that you have no control. I've never felt so powerless, and so inept as I am as a parent, which
Totally
is
inept.
wonderful as a human being, because that is the reality of the world. Like, somehow in life, I've been able to get by pretty well in life, knowing nothing. Somehow people just keep like passing me in school, and I get like jobs and stuff. But parenting, everyone, it's such an even playing field. Like, you know nothing. You know nothing, Jon Snow. And it breaks you open.
So you've seen TV. I mean, the thing
I've seen TV. My kids don't, though.
The thing about parenting is, before you have kids, nothing you do really matters, because it all ends with you, right? Like, and look, I get it. Some people don't have kids, and that's great. God bless you. That's not me. That's you. That's fine. But if you don't have kids, it all dies with you. And that's fine, right? Like, your accomplishments, your failures, your highs, your lows, your happinesses, your sadnesses, whatever, it all dies with you, and that's fine. It's like kind of a cool way to live your life in some ways. It's like, whatever. It's kind of, that's good. I lived my life. I did the best I could. Whatever. See you next life, right? But when you have kids, everything you have this like consequence that goes beyond you, and everything you do, you feel like, number one, you're always
for the
failing.
Next generation,
right?
Like,
I mean, the feeling of failure. I feel failure more with children than I've ever felt with anything in my life, because I always feel like I'm failing them. Like, I'm not doing whatever I'm doing is not what I should be doing for them. That's how I feel about it.
I mean, I think that's what we always worry. Like, people will be like, oh, why do you care about them not staying in their seat during dinner time? And I'm like, because it is my job. Like, this is a person that I am responsible for, in terms of like what I send out into the world, for their own good, but for also the like eternity ripple effects. Like,
That's the problem.
It is
it's the ripple
so
effects.
huge.
The like downstream effects of everything you do. Like, you don't know.
Which has to do with the case we're talking about, right? Like,
Right.
people and how they were raised. It's going to literally affect an entire community forever. And that is the responsibility of a parent. And we're going to talk about parents. And boy, do we talk about parents in this case. And, even as suspects. Woo. But like, I mean, it is just a heavy, heavy thing. But I mean, I clearly, obviously have so many kids. I agree. I mean, I think someone had asked me this in one of our question and answers that we didn't quite get into because the question and answer went so long. But they're like, did you ever want a big family? I think that's interesting because, to some people, I don't have a big family. To others, I am like insane for how many kids I have. So it's a matter of perspective. But truthfully, 10 years ago, no, there was no world where I thought I would have 4 kids. Not because I didn't want it. It was never something that I was like set out to do, But once I had one kid, I was like, well, I'm done. Let's just have all the kids. Like, why not, man? Like, this is more meaningful than anything I've ever accomplished in my life. And I love it. I'm so tired all the time, but it's so worth it. So worth it.
And I always, I thought I should have kids because that's what people do. I was like, what do people do? They get jobs, they get married, they have kids. They have a job, they got married. I guess I need to have kids. And I remember right before my daughter was born thinking, well, this is the end of my life. All the fun things I've been able to do before. Can't just go to a concert, can't just go to the bar. Yeah. And then it was like, wow.
Your life started?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was like,
it's
why
like
did I not do this before? Yeah.
It's like Technicolor, right?
There you go.
Like, I didn't know I was living in black and white.
Yeah.
And I say this all the time. I mean, now we're going to get kind of personal, but again, it relates to the story we're talking about now. I didn't not have a good childhood, but I am getting the privilege of basically having the childhood I wish I had alongside my kids. And it's not that I'm using my kids to have their childhood, but rather like seeing their utter joy at the magicness of childhood is like healing the hurts of my childhood, if that makes sense. And like, that's incredible. I mean, of course that sounds very selfish, but there's this incredibly like full circle opportunity where I truly feel like my life is just beginning, even though numerically it has not.
Yeah, it's so true. Alice, I would say that this is a great place to start the episode, but I look at the recording, and actually we have been talking for so long that I feel like this is probably the end of this episode. So
I guess so. Yeah.
I mean,
baby
wow.
Allison is about to wake up. So
yeah, we just talked for so long. I don't know what to say.
Well, it's okay.
It's okay. We'll do episode 2 tomorrow, right? We just do tomorrow.
We'll really get started tomorrow. This is all. Everything we've talked about absolutely feeds into this case, and you guys, you're gonna understand when this comes full circle at the end of 25 episodes. What we talked about today, right now, this was not for naught. This all wraps up, and it will become crystal clear when we get to the end. Crystal clear what we've talked about here. So if you've already figured it out, I would say instead of you being a psychopath, you are a genius.
You are
a genius,
exactly.
I say.
Okay, so just looking at this, looking at our calendar, looks like this episode will come out around the 1st of April. I guess we'll go ahead and do the next episode tomorrow, just for you guys who have listened to this whole thing. I feel like you deserve, rather than wait a whole week, we'll do the next episode tomorrow. Does that sound good to you, Alice?
Yeah. I guess that makes sense.
Since this one went kind of long on the banner.
A little bit long. I kind of feel like people are going to leave some 1-star reviews.
Well, that's fine. 1-star reviews. Sorry,
Before
guys.
they do it, they should really just check the calendar.
Yeah. Probably, but people never do that.
People never check the calendar.
Well, we're already excited to hear your thoughts on this case. So shoot us an email, prosecutorspod@gmail.com, and prosecutorspod for all your social media. Talk about it on the gallery. We'll be there. If you want to view these episodes early and ad-free, join Patreon. Okay, Alice, before we sign off for today, do you have any last-minute thoughts as we get started on this case?
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the most researched, most intense, and most divisive cases we will ever cover. And I think it is not an understatement to say that I don't know I don't know that we can ever top this case, so we better make it a good one.
Better make it a good one. You know, you want to leave a legacy. Maybe this case will be our final statement on this podcast. But
A closing
that's a good point,
argument,
Alice.
perhaps.
A closing argument. Yeah, it's a good way to end this episode. It's no joke. It's a very serious issue. Okay, well, thank you,
Murder.
Alice, for those thoughts.
I
This
have
is
another
definitely
thought.
the.
I'm sorry. I
Oh,
have another
sorry.
thought.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, you know, it's really not a joke when you're talking about murder ever,
not.
Brett. So I just wanted
Never.
to make that clear for everyone who's making a 1-star review who says,
Yeah.
why do they chit-chat and
dare you.
joke all the time? How dare you?
How dare you, sir?
How dare you, sir?
Or madam. Or madam. You
But
know, as we
mostly
start
sir.
April, it's an important month. But yeah, I agree with Alice 100%. And this is definitely the longest introduction we've ever had to a case, and that's fine. That's fine. This case deserves it.
It
What
leads
case should
in.
have a longer introduction than this case?
If
right?
we didn't do this type of an introduction, I think people would actually be angry because we
I agree.
didn't spend enough time
Yeah, we're doing this for you.
introducing it.
It's a good point. Fine point, Alice. Fine point.
I do what
That's
I
why
can.
you are the best co-host in True Crime.
You're the best.
You're
well,
the
happy
best.
April.
Happy April. Welcome to April. Thank you, Alice. All right. Well, we'll be back tomorrow with the continuation of this case. But until then, I'm Brett,
And I'm Alice.
and we are the prosecutors. Okay. Yeah. So we're just gonna talk around it.
Yeah,
And at the
no,
end,
I
I'll be
got
like,
you.
we have just been, we've gone so long.
I
feel
got
like,
I got you.
We're just gonna have to really get into the case tomorrow.
Okay. No. I love it. I love it. Okay. So, but we're still
Okay.
going to like sign in.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. No, I got you. Okay. I'm
Are you
my
ready?
head's in the game. I'm ready.
Okay. Here we go.
We are so dedicated.
So dedicated.
That we just finished a 2-hour question and answer legal briefs before filming this.
It's true. It's true. On a weekday. by the
On
way.
a weekday.
On a weekday. Anyway.
It is a weekday.
It is a weekday.
Ah.